The sky had only just started to blush with the early glow of sunrise, casting soft light over the peaceful neighborhood, when everything began to unfold. On the sidewalk, near the gates of her school, stood a young black girl, no older than 13, quietly waiting. One strap of her backpack dangled from her small shoulder, and her eyes glanced now and then down the road. Her name?
Amara.
A gentle soul.
Polite.
Always respectful. The kind of girl who never spoke out of turn. You see, she was raised by a man who taught her that strength didn't come from shouting, but from silence, grace, and holding your ground with dignity. He had always told her, you don't raise your voice, even when the world raises its hand against you. But today would test that lesson in ways she never imagined. She had stayed behind after school, not because she was in trouble, no. Amara was the kind of student who volunteered. That day, she stayed to help her teacher organize stacks of books in the quiet classroom. Her father's words echoed in her heart. Service is strength, sweetheart. It made her proud. By the time she stepped through the school's front gate, most of the campus was deserted. Kids were long gone. Silence wrapped around the playground. Her father had told her, wait by the main row, I'll be there. And so, she waited, quietly, patiently. Then it happened. A police car slowly crawled by, then reversed. The window rolled down, and a man in uniform squinted suspiciously at her. Hey, he called out, his voice edged with authority. What are you doing here? Where are your parents? Amara turned toward him, her expression calm, her voice soft but sure. My dad's coming to get me. He's with the Special Forces. He's just running a little late. The officer blinked, then chuckled. But it wasn't the kind of laugh that meant humor. It was the kind that stung. He stepped out of the car and smirked, saying, Special Forces, huh? That's a new one. And I'm the President of the United States. Amara didn't laugh. She didn't flinch. Her eyes widened slightly, confused.
No, sir.
I'm not lying, she replied, still respectful, still steady. But he wasn't buying it. His voice took on a colder edge. He looked around and noticed there were no adults nearby. Then came the words that made her heart skip. Let's go, he said, stepping closer. I'm taking you to the station until we figure out who you really are. Her breath caught, but she didn't run.
She didn't resist.
Amara remembered her father's voice, like an anchor in her chest. Stay calm, no matter what. Don't let their doubts shake your truth. Still, the officer didn't stop. You kids think you can say anything and get away with it. Special Forces?
Come on.
That's just a lie to avoid consequences. A small group started to gather. A few parents, students, leftover stragglers from after-school activities began watching. Someone pulled out a phone. Then another. I haven't done anything wrong, Amara said again, even softer than before. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were pleading. Please. Just wait. My dad is almost here. But the officer's voice rose, now performing for the growing crowd. You've got no ID, no guardian in sight, and now you're lying to an officer? You're coming with me. He reached for her backpack. And that's when it all changed. From across the street, tires screeched gently as a sleek black SUV pulled to a halt. The back door swung open before the engine even stopped. Out stepped a tall, commanding figure, clad in full military gear. His very presence sent ripples down the street. He didn't need to speak to be noticed. His boots hit the pavement with purpose, each step echoing authority. His face was stern, his eyes razor-sharp. Excuse me, officer, he said calmly, his voice like thunder muffled in velvet. That's my daughter you've got your hands on. The officer turned, immediately retreating a step. This man wasn't some angry parent, no. The badges on his chest gleamed. His uniform was unmistakable. This was a man forged by service. A leader. A warrior. Who are you? The officer stammered, suddenly watching his words. Master Sergeant David Brooks, the man said, locking eyes with him. I just returned from a classified mission overseas. And I come home to find my daughter being treated like a suspect for standing on a sidewalk. The officer turned pale. I didn't know. She said something about special forces. I thought it was a joke. David stepped closer, unwavering. She's 13, he said, his voice laced with fury restrained by discipline. Why would she lie about that? Or do you just assume every black child is making it up? Silence fell. The crowd froze. Even the air seemed to pause. The officer looked down, ashamed. David turned to his daughter, kneeling slightly to her level. Are you all right, sweetie? He asked gently. Amara nodded, but her eyes shimmered with tears. He said I was lying, he was going to take me away. David's jaw tightened. Then he stood and turned back to the officer. Let me explain something, he said firmly. You don't get to lay a hand on my child just because you think her truth doesn't sound believable to you. She did nothing wrong. The only crime here was your assumption, based on her skin and nothing else. I'm sorry, the officer mumbled. David shook his head. Intent doesn't erase impact. Maybe next time, listen before you laugh. Applause broke out. A few cheers. Some people nodded. Some looked down in shame. The officer quietly returned to his car, avoiding every eye around him. Then, just like that, he drove off. David slung Amara's backpack over his shoulder and took her hand in his. They walked toward their car, heads held high. Strong. Unshaken. From the crowd, someone shouted, You're a hero, sir. But David didn't respond. His eyes stayed on his daughter. That was all that mattered. Thanks for coming, Dad, Amara whispered, looking up at him with love. Always, he said, his voice soft. Nobody messes with my little warrior. And that is what this story is about. It's not just about a girl being questioned. It's not just about a father showing up. It's about the weight of assumptions, the bite of prejudice, and the unshakable force of truth when it's finally seen. Amara didn't scream. She didn't lie. She didn't fight. All she did was speak the truth, a truth that the world refused to believe, until her father arrived and made sure they had no choice. So let this serve as a reminder. Never judge someone by how they look. You have no idea what kind of strength stands behind them. You never know who they really are or who's coming for them. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. Drop a comment below and tell us what you felt. And don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more true-to-life, emotional stories that remind us what truly matters. Thank you for watching. Red Heart.